Brata Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Grivanadari Gopi Jana Balaba Grivanadari Yasodanana Brata Janaranjana Yasodanana Brata Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahangsa Brahmadakacharya Asatara Sadushi Shiman His Divine Grace Shri Sri Bhaktivedanta Manor Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Harival Glorious to these sound devotees All glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sabitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchena Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prashubhanu Sudha Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Tribhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 12, Creation of the Kumaras and Others, text number 5. Tan babashe swabhu putran prajan shrijata pudraka tan naichan moksha dharmano Vasudeva Parayana Tan Babashe Swabhu Putran Praja Srijata Putraka Tan Naichan Moksha Dharmano Vasudeva Parayana Tan Babase Swabhu Chan Praja Srijata Putraka Tan Naichan Moksha Dharmano Vasudeva Parayana Babase Swabhu Putran Ladies, Putran Vasudeva Parayana Tan Babase Swabhu Putran Praja Swadeta Putraka Tan Naichan Moksha Dharmano Vasudeva Parayana Tan unto the Kumaras, as above mentioned. Babashe addressed. Swabhu Rama Putran unto the sons. Praja generations. Srijata to create. Putraka O my sons. Tat that. Na not. Aichan desired. Moksha Dharmana pledged to the principles of liberation. Vasudeva the personality of Godhead. Parayana were so devoted. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. For due to their being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aimed at liberation, and therefore they expressed their unwillingness. Please repeat. Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. But due to their being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aimed at liberation, and therefore they expressed their unwillingness. Purport. The four sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, declined to become family men even on the request of their great father, Brahma. Those who are serious about gaining release from material bondage should not be entangled in the false relationship of family bondage. People may ask how the Kumaras could refuse the orders of Brahma, who is their father, and above all, the creator of the universe. The reply is that one who is Vasudeva Parayana, or seriously engaged in the devotional service of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, need not care for any other obligation. It is enjoyed in the Bhagavatam 11.541. Devarshi bhutatma nrinim pritrinam kinkaro nayam rini jarajan sarvatmana yaksharnam sharanyam gato mukundam pariritya khatam. Anyone who has completely given up all worldly relationships and has taken absolute shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, who gives us salvation, and who alone is fit to be taken shelter of, is no longer a debtor or a servant of anyone, including the demigods, forefathers, sages, other living entities, relatives, and members of human society. Thus, there is nothing wrong in the acts of the Kumaras when they refuse their great father's request that they become family men. So the text again. Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. But due to their being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aimed at liberation, and therefore they expressed their unwillingness. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Vacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskyadyade Satarane. Not a simple verse. Just like when Ashvatthama had killed the sleeping sons of the Pandavas, it wasn't a simple solution. Even after Arjuna had captured him and taken him before Draupadi, where he had pledged to more or less cut off his head so that Draupadi could stand on it while she was taking her bath, her shower. And the Pandavas were there, Krishna was there, Draupadi was there, Ashvatthama was there, and they couldn't quite decide what to do with him, because the laws of material nature are not so simple. So Bhima wanted to kill him immediately. Arjuna had that tendency too. Yudhisthira Maharaj was more lenient. Draupadi was quite sentimental, that he's a Brahmin, he's the son of our teacher, how can you release him immediately? Krishna had to manifest 2 extra arms to keep Bhima and Yudhisthira apart, so that nothing undue happened between them. Finally, Krishna gave Arjuna the intelligence to cut off his jewel from his head and banish him. And then immediately he left and threw 5 Brahmastra weapons to kill all the Pandavas, and another one to kill their son, Pariksha Maharaj, in the womb. So, who is right, who is wrong? We have to see the Bhagavatam, that things are not so simple as we like them to be. It is black and white. And here, there's not black and white actually. There's many shades of grade, and it takes Yudhisthira Maharaj, who's Dhammaraj, couldn't figure it out. Krishna, who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who knows past, present, future, didn't get involved, but gave Arjuna the intelligence what to do. And still, after that, Ashvatthama tried to kill all the Pandavas, as well as their son in the womb. And Ashvatthama was banished, and I believe he's going to become one of the sages at the end of the Kali Yuga. So, figure it out, how the laws of material nature work. I can't figure it out. And here we have another, not quagmire, but interesting thing is that the four Kumaras, after being created, they rejected the orders of their father because they wanted liberation. And here, wanting liberation is Vasudeva Parayana. They were devotees of Krishna. So when they were devotees of Krishna, we know they didn't become devotees of Krishna until they had gone to the spiritual world, to the gates of Vaikuntha, and got into a fight with one of the two doorkeepers, Jai and Vijay. So this is at a little bit later than at least our creation. It was after because they were part of the whole drama with Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, Shishupal, Dantavakra, and Ravana and Kumbhakarna. They were part of the whole drama before they had become pure devotees. This is after they became pure devotees, cursed the doorkeepers, and then they were doorkeepers in Vaikuntha, Jai and Vijay, were forced to become demons. So before that, they weren't demons in the sense they weren't Mayavadis. They were impersonalists, Brahmavadis. And these Brahmavadis are defined as Vasudeva Parayana, which is not exactly how we usually look at them. They're impersonalists. They don't reject Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they don't accept him either, actually, as necessarily the Supreme. They think that Brahman may be above Krishna. But they don't say Krishna is unreal like the Mayavadis do. So the question is, on what basis is the four Kumaras rejecting the orders of their father? If our father asks us to do something, we can't say, well, I just, sorry, Dad, I'm a Kumara. My authority is the four Kumaras, and I reject your order. Take out the garbage, sorry. I'm thinking of Krishna, I have a higher duty than taking out the garbage. No, it's not so simple. Although we can understand from the Bhagavad Gita, because we're accepting the Bhagavad Gita as our standard, as I said yesterday, Yomam eva samudo janati purushottama sasarvavit bhajante mam sara bhavena bharata. That anyone who knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without doubting, is said to be the knower of everything, and therefore one engages himself in full devotional service. Iti guyatama shastram idam yukva mayanaga etad bhutva buddhimatsyat kritat kritastra. That this is the most confidential part of all the Vedic literature. That anyone who knows this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So we take it as the highest goal is to obtain Krishna. Te vidu swartakatim hi Vishnu darashaya ye bahir artamanina. People don't know that the goal of life is to reach Krishna, then they take something insignificant. Now Brahma, he has his duty to create and populate, create the universe and then populate it with progeny. And he's not necessarily a pure devotee. He may be a Karmi Brahma, he may be a Jnana Bhakta, Jnani Brahma, he may be a Bhakta Brahma. Even our Brahma, before he became, our Brahman, there's so many Brahmas, but anyhow, our personal Brahma, we have a personal Brahma. Our personal Brahma is small but beautiful. He has 4 heads, and the other Brahmas have more than 4 heads. So we're in the smallest universe. So we have to say that our universe is small, but it's beautiful. Something to be proud of. So even our Brahma was not a perfect Brahma, a Bhakta, although he spoke the Brahma Samhita at the beginning of our creation. And it appeared that he was a pure devotee. But anyhow, somehow or another, he stole Krishna's cowherd boys and calves, which is not what you expect of a pure devotee, and put them in a cave for a year. Not the type of person you'd like to meet in the dark end of a street. Put you in a cave for a year. In any case, after that, then he was lamenting that he had committed some big offense, and he came back as Haridas Thakur and made up for it by becoming Namacharya. And then he went back as Brahma. Now we have a pure devotee as our Brahma, so we can be proud. Unlike many other universes, our Brahma is pure. But exactly what's going on here may not be so clear, but if we take it as Vasudeva Parayana, then we have to understand that why the Kumaras would have some reason to reject him. As Maharaj Shabdev said, Gurur na sasyad, swajano na sasyad, pita na sasyaj, janani na sasyat, na daivam na tatsyan, pita patis Chadnasyan namochya yakshum mrityum. That one should not become a father, one should not become a mother, one should not become a guru, one should not become actually the one is first is guru, and then the next is relative, then the next is father or mother, or worshipful demigod, or one should not become a husband, unless he's prepared to deliver his dependents from the cycle of birth and death. In other words, the ultimate objective of anything we're doing is to help others become Krishna conscious. Any situation we may have varieties of services, but every service is, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Yari Deka Tari Kaha Krishna Upadesh Amar Agar Guruhana Tari Desh. Whoever we meet, in any circumstance, it's our service to Krishna to help others become Krishna conscious. And that way we can deliver ourselves and we can help others also. Otherwise, then whatever we do is Shravam Eva Hi Kevalam. If we're not in the consciousness of helping others elevate themselves, become conscious of Krishna, then we're wasting our time and we're wasting other people's time. And if we're trying to do that, then what we're doing is perfect. We don't have to do anything else other than that. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Brahmas after he asked Ramananda Roy, what is the process to become conscious of Krishna? Because that's all Prabhupada said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was interested in, was becoming conscious of Krishna. And Ramananda Roy quoted a verse from Lord Brahma. Yane priyasam udapastanamant eva jivanti samukaritam bhavadiyavartam. That we should give up this tendency to speculate. Put it aside. So, what does it mean we're speculating? Do we sit down there and we just speculate? Sometimes we do that, especially during japa. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Or throughout the whole universe. But actually, as soon as we forget that we're Krishna's servant, immediately mental speculation will be there. Everything we're looking at, everything we're thinking about, everything we're doing is a product of mental speculation because we've forgotten who we actually are and what we're supposed to be doing. And therefore we're speculating. The general speculation, as it turns out to be, she loves me not, she loves me not, she loves me, she doesn't love me. She loves my money. Oh, that's the truth. So this is all part of the mental speculation that goes on. Therefore, Lord Brahma said, Jnane priyasam udapasta namanta eva. We should give up this tendency to speculate and simply become submissive to the words of the great devotees. And what are the words of the great devotees? That stane stita. It doesn't really matter who we think we are right now, because it's all wrong anyhow. Whoever we may identify this body, of course, we should know what kind of body we have. Nowadays, people can't even figure that out. So there is a difference between a male body and a female body. We're not going to philosophize that they're both the same, or that there's many varieties of bodies nowadays. I think in America they got up to 72 varieties of human bodies. There's male, there's female, there's male and female, there's, whatever. So we'll stick to 2 in general. And then amongst them there's so many other bodies. But our philosophy is samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashavanashantam yak pashiti sapashiti. That one who can see the Supreme Lord and the soul accompanying in all bodies, actually see the soul in all bodies and the Supreme Lord accompanying the soul in all bodies, and who knows that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, he can actually see. Otherwise we're blind. We think we're seeing, but we're seeing through our imagination. One time, Panchavida Maharaj went to Prabhupada, and he had a boil on his back, and he said, Prabhupada, I have this boil on my back. And Prabhupada touched the boil and said, it's your imagination. Does that mean he didn't have a boil? No, of course he had a boil, but he was imagining that he had a boil on his back. But on his spiritual back, he had no boil. Spiritual soul doesn't have boils on its back. But he was thinking he was the body. It's just like if you have a car and you get a dent in the car, you start saying, or if someone hits your car, you're driving along and someone hits your car, whack! And you jump out and say, you hit me! And the person jumps out and says, I didn't hit you, I hit your car. No, you hit me. No, you're suffering from a hum car, that I am the car. I didn't hit you, I hit your car. So in that way, everyone's living in their imagination, that we have so many designations. But actually, the real designation is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Naham viparana chanar patira naham vapina sudra gopi bharata padakamalayar dasa dasa anadasa. All of us, whatever we're imagining, the only real designation we have is the servant of Krishna. Even in the conditioned life, under the spell of the material energy, we're simply serving Krishna indirectly. And we're serving Krishna's servants indirectly. The material nature is such as arranging everything perfectly so that one way or another we're serving Krishna. Or we're serving the servants of Krishna. But if we actually want our benefit to get out of this dreamlike state and find out who we actually are, just like the Kumaras, they knew they were not Brahma's sons. It says Brahma generated them. Brahma generated their body, but even Brahma doesn't generate bodies. Little tiny Brahma, 1/10,000th the size, tip here in size also. It's all being done by Krishna under his energies, either spiritual or material. So Brahma was thinking, I am Brahma at this particular moment. I'm generating these Kumaras. My duty is to populate the universe, and anyone I generate is my son, and they better obey because that's part of the Vedic culture. It's like nowadays sometimes, even cultured devotees from certain communities, they have children, and they think their duty is to obey their father and their mother, become a doctor and a lawyer, and make a lot of money so that when we retire, they can give us a good home. That's not exactly the end of the Vedic literature. That's the ultimate end of the Vedic literature, is to understand Krishna. And there may be different aspects of the Vedic culture which is meant to teach us submission, so that ultimately we can utilize that cultivation of submission and obedience to apply it in Krishna consciousness. And if we don't come to that platform of applying it to Krishna consciousness, then it's considered a waste of time. So the four Kumaras, they're Gyanis, they know what the purpose of life is. Bonam jamanamante gyanamamam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti saramahatma sudurlava. So they're Gyani Bhaktas, but they know that the aim is not family life. Family life is more or less part of the material world in order to protect us. Deha patya kalatradishu atma sanyeshva satsupi tesham pramato nidanam pashana pina pashati. That everyone is afraid of abhinavineshita, of death. Just like yesterday, Yadananda Maharaj was talking about the 5 different kleshas, actually, which have tamas, tamizra. They're also beginning with avidya. So we're all suffering from avidya. Sometimes they have these parking lots, these parking signs, for people who have some handicap. So we can park there. And they ask you, why are you parking there? What's your problem? I have this heart problem. I'm suffering from heart disease. And even more than that, but my spiritual teacher said I'm suffering from bhava roga because of that. The most deadly disease. Birth, death, old age, and disease. So we're all handicapped in the material world. Prabhupada put out this booklet at the very beginning, which we were distributing. It said, "Who is crazy?" So everyone is crazy in the material world. You'd have to be crazy to come to this place. And you'd have to be crazy to stay here. So we're all qualified to become crazy, to be labeled as crazy. Just like if you went to a costume party, and you dressed up as a good fairy, or as Dracula, and you walked in your costume and you started to look at everyone at their neck, thinking what they taste like. And you go up to one of your friends and say, "Could I see what you taste like?" And you go, "Wait a second. Wake up, friend. You're not Dracula. You only have the costume. You're so-and-so." So similarly, we put on these costumes, and we're actually believing that we are this costume that we're on, and therefore we're just as crazy as the person who puts on Dracula's costume and wants to go around and bite everyone at the party. Therefore, the real thing is to understand, whatever our position is, we can say some positions are more fortunate, some are less fortunate, but when we come to the platform of Krishna consciousness, they're all equal, because in Krishna consciousness, we enter into a different world other than this external world. And even the external world turns into the spiritual world for a devotee. Then it becomes a different world. It becomes Krishna's energy rather than the illusory energy. Because actually the only difference is our consciousness. When our consciousness becomes pure, then avidya, asmita, rag, dvesha, anabhiveshita, this fear of death, they go away. And when there's no fear of death, we don't need 100 million things to protect ourselves. We don't even need this body, or our children, or our wife, or our dog to protect us. Then we're already in a safe place, the spiritual world, where everything is perfect and safe and happy and progressive. But nowadays, because of people's sinful activities, Therefore, they've created this horrible world, this so-called civilization, where everyone needs so much protection, so many different things. As I've said before, that it all began at the beginning of Kali Yuga, where Kali decided to beat on a cow and a bull. And because he was beating on the cow and bull, the legs of religion, of truthfulness, austerity, mercy, and cleanliness were all being destroyed. Because they was beating on the bull, trying to kill the cow and the bull. So this is how modern civilization has become degraded. They've decided at some point in Kali Yuga, instead of protecting the cow and bull, we're going to eat the cow and bull. But then once you do that, then you need something to plow the land. You have to get your food grains, so then you need a tractor. And when you get a tractor, you need a factory to build a tractor. But to build a factory, you need the raw materials, so you need another factory to build the machines to get the raw materials. And then you need machines to dig up the earth to get the fuel, and it goes on and on. They need armies to go across the continents to get donations from other countries for their raw materials. So please give us your raw materials, or else, you know. You know what happens when people don't give us our raw materials. And it goes on, and then it gets more and more complicated. You're no longer an engineer. You're a physical, chemical, mechanical engineer, studying the life of a frog. You got your PhD in some kind of very esoteric subject matter that only you know how big is the point of a needle. As I've said before, just like this Brahmin he was a very pious Brahmin. He was always meditating on Krishna, always chanting his rounds, and he only needed one pair of underwear because he was so renounced, so much absorbed in Krishna consciousness, almost perfect. But one day, one mouse came when he was putting his underwear on the bank of the Ganges in order to dry it off, and the mouse came and stole his underwear. So now he was naked. And although he was a great devotee, he was embarrassed. So he did some research after begging another piece of underwear, consulted with the Brahmins, and they revealed to him that in order to protect his underwear, which became a priority in his life, he needed a cat. So he got a cat to protect his underwear, but the cat kept on saying something. He couldn't understand the language. He went on Google and put it in. And he found out the cat was saying, "I need milk." After careful research, he found out cows give milk. He was quite detached from the world at that time. He didn't know about these things. And so he begged a cow. But he had no idea how to milk a cow. And he found out the only one left in his village who knew how to milk a cow was this one lady. So he married the lady. And then he found out she wanted some children. So he had to get a house. But to pay for the house, he had to get a job. So to pay for the job, he had to get a car. But to pay for the car, he had to work at night. So now he had two jobs. He had a house, he had a car, he had a wife and two children, a cow and a cat to protect his underwear. But now he realized that, underwear was too expensive to afford. He realized eventually he couldn't afford it. So he took it off and walked away. So that's modern civilization. They made everything so complicated, mainly because Bhagavatam at least reveals what the problems are, what the real problems are. That they've forgotten Krishna, they've tried to make life so-called easy, and therefore they've neglected Krishna, they rejected Krishna's instructions, And they created, as Prahlad Maharaj said, even back then, he said, Naiva dvija paradratya vaitranyas tvavira gaina mahamita magnachitak so chevi mukha chetasa indriyartha maya sukhayam baram udvato vimudan. He said, this is Maya Sukhaya, the civilization, so-called progress. It's just, Prabhupada said, humbug civilization, if you know what humbug means. It's a false civilization. Prabhupada said, vimuda. They're not just fools, they're vimudas. Muda means fool, but they're vimudas. They're super fools. They're not ordinary fools. Therefore, one has to understand that without Krishna consciousness, no matter what the situation is, and here that verse, Guru Arna says, yet, Bali Maharaj was intelligent enough, when his spiritual master, Sukracharya, told him to reject Krishna, reject devotional service, then he rejected his so-called spiritual master. Guru Arna said, Swajano, relatives, Arjuna fought on behalf of Krishna, and even killed his relatives. And then we have Pita, the father. Prahlad Maharaj rejected his father, Hiranyakashipu, and surrendered to Krishna. Swajano, Janani, Bharat Maharaj rejected his mother because she rejected Ramachandra. And Daiva is interesting because it combines all the different gurus, worshipable. Anyone who's worshipable is considered Daivam. And the husband. So unless they're actually giving us instructions to help us become Krishna conscious, helping us to help others become Krishna conscious, then there's no need to follow their instructions. But we have to be careful that we know the Shastra so well that we know what Krishna wants. And if we don't know it so well, that immediately everything is as clear as the sun lights up everything in the daytime, because that's how clear it should be, then we have to humbly investigate if we don't really know what's to be done. As I said one time, I asked Srila Prabhupada, this is in 1969, so, probably if I asked him today, he'd give me the same answer, but I asked Srila Prabhupada one time, I said, if Krishna wants me to do something, or if he doesn't want me to do something, how will I know what Krishna wants me to do? And Prabhupada just started to chuckle. And he looked at me and said, you won't know what to do. Then he stopped for a second. He said, you'll do the wrong thing. And then everyone started to laugh. And then Prabhupada looked at me with his compassionate glance. He didn't want me to get upset. He didn't mean it like that. So anyhow, I had a certain rasa with Srila Prabhupada sometimes like that. Everything I said Prabhupada made a joke out of. Not always, but usually. But the real fact is, if we don't know what to do, then we have to humbly think about what to do. And if it comes to mind, Yari Deka Tari Kaha Krishna Upadesh Amara Agar Gurhana Tari Desh. Whoever we meet, we have one service, one thing to do. Try to help them become Krishna conscious. Try to think about what we can do to help them become Krishna conscious. And if we don't know, if we accept that as our real duty, that we're servants of the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who by his feelings of separation, serving him, we can acquire his feelings of separation, which will bring us immediately to the spiritual platform of consciousness. If we don't know that, then we have to humbly investigate through Guru, Sadhana, and Shastra. And when Krishna sees our sincerity, that we're willing to do what's necessary, that Krishna will reveal this information to us. And what is that? What do we have to do? Tesham sadatam yuktanam bhajantam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upiyanti te. We have to become qualified for Krishna to tell us what to do. If we don't know what to do, then we have to qualify ourselves by try to engage more sincerely, more steadily in devotional service, and with more enthusiasm. priti purvakam, with care and attention. Then when Krishna sees our sincerity, then dadami buddhi yogam tam. He'll give us the intelligence by which we can actually come to Krishna consciousness, and where everything is actually revealed, like the sun lights up everything in the daytime. And it's not by our becoming a great devotee and saving the world. It's much the opposite. First of all, we have to get over this desire to control the world. Looking around, everything's wrong. How can I correct it? Finally, I came to the Hare Krishna movement, and now the Hare Krishna movement will become saved, will become purified by my presence. People just have to surrender to me and listen to me, and everything, all the wrongs will be corrected. So now I'm a bhakta, I got to listen to everyone. But don't worry, in the course of time, I'll become initiated, and all the bhaktas will listen to me, and I'll be able to help them. I'll be able to control them, and everything will be all right. It's still not all right, maybe I have to get second initiation. Things, the whole movement hasn't been corrected yet, but I'm working on it. Okay. Now I'm going to become the temple commander. Command everyone, yes, sir. Things are getting better, but not quite right. Temple vice president, all right, we're making some progress. People are listening to me a little bit more, at least when I talk to them. All right, temple president, still not quite right. Zonal supervisor, it's getting better. GBC, initiating guru, Saktavech avatar. Somehow or another, I'm going to make sure things are all right. Let my glory shine through all the three temples. So, then the next thing is we want to become the enjoyer. We're going out with saving the world by Sankirtan, by distributing books, and now I need the enjoyment. Prabhu so-and-so distributed 325 books. Jai, jai, jai. Flowers from the sky. It's all right, I'm humble, don't worry. Just a little louder. It's all right. So then we have to get over being the enjoyer. The next thing is I'm the savior. That from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. A little help from the super soul. We're a partner, you know. It's me and the super soul together. We give him some credit, but you know. I'm the one who surrendered to him. He only gets 50%. So this is our problem, this idea that we're going to enjoy in the material world, and therefore we can't understand actually what reality is. Krishna doesn't give us the full intelligence. He doesn't reveal himself fully to us. We have to become actually humble, that I'm not the controller, I'm not the enjoyer, I'm not the savior, I'm simply an insignificant servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Then eva nu kamparatam. Then Krishna gives us his mercy. Out of compassion, when we see things properly, when we act properly, when we tolerate our materialistic consciousness, then Krishna gives us his full mercy, and then we can become nimitra matram bhavasava sachin, an instrument for Krishna. Then Krishna takes over, as Prabhupada says. Then Krishna takes over, and we're there for the ride. Of course, we have feelings, we have desires, and Krishna will fulfill them, but they're all pure. They're all meant to help others become Krishna conscious. It's all to give mercy. Then those who are giving us instructions towards that realm of consciousness, if we understand that, then we accept them as our guides, as our authorities. And we repeat their example, we repeat their instructions, and that way we can help others as we're being helped ourselves. Therefore, stanestita, we don't have to change anything, but shrutigatam dhanavang monavir. We have to hear the philosophy. We have to see through the eyes of the philosophy how Krishna sees things. Then we have to develop the conviction so that we keep on seeing whatever happens to us, we keep on seeing in relation to Krishna, we keep on acting for Krishna in any circumstance. Then Krishna will give us more and more skill of how to engage in service to Him, especially the loving exchanges. And then we become more and more absorbed externally and internally in the Krishna's name, form, quality, and pastimes. And therefore we're enlightened and we're absorbed, we're immersed in the nectar and the ocean of divine energy, which is Srimati Radharani and Krishna, their divine pastimes in their different forms in this world and in the spiritual world. We're absorbed in the ecstasy of serving and loving them, being attracted to them, and therefore we have the same character of a pure devotee. And then we become really effective in helping others revive their consciousness of Krishna too. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. You're talking about the importance of preaching. Krishna Upadesh. But to be able to preach effectively, we also need to read. So my question is, Maharaj, how much should we read and how much should we preach?
Well, we should hear enough. Prabhupada said he wanted us to come at least to the morning and possibly the evening program. Generally, we used to have evening programs. And hear about Krishna at least 2 hours a day in that way. And if we have that tendency, we might add a little bit more reading if we have the time and the tendency, but at least 2 hours a day. And then for the rest of the day, we should remember what we heard. If we don't remember what we heard, then we should go to sleep earlier so we're awake during class. Yes.
So you mentioned Lord Brahma. So in this universe, you say that he's a pure devotee, but in other universes, he's not necessarily a pure devotee.
Yeah.
Does this mean that in some universes, the universe is more covered in that way that some are actually not able to realize the Supreme Lord?
No, Brahma is good enough in the other. I mean, it's not like Brahma is like, either he's a pure devotee or he's just, a bum on the street. No, he's a very elevated personality. He knows the Vedic culture. He's in ecstasy in Krishna consciousness. But he has a little bit desire to control and to feel himself to be the savior or whatever. So that little bit of control means that he's not completely pure.
I have one more question, because the question about preaching. So often preaching, it seems to me that it's like speaking and it's like distributing books. But shouldn't we also consider that there are many ways of preaching? Also doing puja on the altar, when we dance like this in the temple room, isn't that also to be considered preaching as a very important thing?
Yeah, we should we have to have an acharya. Prabhupada is our founder acharya, and those in our movement we're supposed to accept Prabhupada as an acharya. And everything Prabhupada did was preaching. Every breath he took was an example for us to follow. Every instruction he gave was an example. So we take his example, and if we follow that, then whatever we're doing, we'll be preaching too. Actions speak louder than words, as they say. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for class. One thing you mentioned, it doesn't really matter like what we are right now, but just wanted to ask, because Krishna says as well in Bhagavad Gita that we have a certain nature. For example, it says, Shatur Vanyam Maya Shrishtan Guna Kama Vibhagasha. We have certain gunas and certain activities that we do. So how can we align that with which, because it seems to me like it does like matter what kind of nature we have developed to engage in the proper service according to that nature.
Well, the point I was making is that it doesn't matter what our situation. If we engage in devotional service, we're doing the best thing we could possibly do. And if we're not engaged in devotional service, then we're just wasting our time. Of course, there may be different ways of looking at it. There's also Varna and Ashram, which will elevate one to a higher level where one can accept devotional service. So there's the indirect path, but we're taking to the direct path. Therefore, whether we're mam hi partha vyabhashitya yepi supapiyonaya striyo vaishya sata sudras tepi anti param gitim. First of all, most of us haven't been born in pure Brahmin families. So therefore, we're usually considered, or even Kshatriyas. Therefore, we're considered to be part of the Papayonaya. Women, Vaishyas, Sudra, etc., they're considered to be born in a lower family. But if they're engaged in devotional service, then Krishna accepts that service and one can go back to Krishna by such service. There's no impediment. Of course, we have the uniform of life, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is able to wake up the animals in the Jharkhand forest, but we don't know anyone around here who could do that right now. So we have to wake up and engage in service and not become envious or think I need some other situation, in order to actually engage in pure devotional. Everything is perfect in our society if we just accept it. But we have to accept we have to accept the leader. Prabhupada is the Acharya, and those who are following him, we have to understand, in relation to Prabhupada, those who are following his instructions, they also become our leaders. And therefore, accept that and accept ourselves as a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant in disciple succession. And if we're doing that and doing our service to please Krishna under his authorities, then whatever we're doing will be perfect because we'll remember Krishna. Prabhupada in 1857, Bhagavad Gita, the verse, Chaitasa sarva karmani maya sanyasi matpraha buddhiyogam upashitya machita satam bhava. Then all activities depend upon me, work always under my direction. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. And Prabhupada gives the sequence of becoming conscious of Krishna by accepting Krishna as the proprietor of everything, and then utilizing whatever we have, whatever it may be, in Krishna's service, under the directions of his authorities, Guru and Sadhu and Shastra. And then whatever we're doing under that authority, we should do it to please Krishna. And if we do it to please Krishna, become a Matpara devotee, think that Krishna has appointed me to discharge a particular duty, and I have no goal in life save and except to act in Krishna consciousness just to please him, to satisfy him. If we do that, then we'll naturally think about Krishna. And if we naturally think about Krishna, then whatever we're doing is perfect. And following that sequence, of course. So anyone who thinks about Krishna in that way, they're on the absolute platform. They're perfect. And if anyone who comes to that platform, who's able to think of Krishna that way, steadily, constantly, with full devotion, then it doesn't matter who they are. They're Acharya. So everyone has the capacity. As Prabhupada said, as much as you follow me, then you become the next leader. It doesn't matter who you are. Is that right?
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, one more.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yesterday I was speaking with one brahmachari, and we were discussing this, that enjoying devotional service, enjoying spiritually, and this enjoying spirit is so deeply ingrained, and sometimes, at least for myself, I feel like, okay, now I'm becoming a little bit more selfless, I'm doing it to please the other devotees or Krishna, but then you always catch yourself and you realize, actually I'm doing it just for, this more subtle and subtle, goes more subtle and subtle, this enjoying...
Well, don't relax a little bit.
So how do one come to that? Like,
because one never comes to the platform, I'm doing things just to make myself miserable. No, the problem is we think we're this body, And therefore we think my self-interest is this body. But actually our real selfish interest is Krishna. So if we really want to serve our selfish interest, our self-interest, then we have to serve Krishna. That's our real interest. Because Krishna is the reservoir of pleasure. If you have there's a reservoir of pleasure, and someone says, would you like to jump in? You say, well, I'm selfless. I don't do things like that. No, if there's a reservoir of pleasure, jump in. So Krishna, he's our self-interest. He's our real interest. We've just forgotten what our real interest is. So we have to remember, we have to find out and realize what our real interest is, and then serve that interest. And if we don't serve that interest, then we're just working against our real interest. We have that choice. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.